If you would all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please stand as you are able. Thank you. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For all. Okay. We're so happy to have you all here tonight. We have 6 amazing candidates for you to hear tonight. You will notice that you have index cards on your table. There are 3 or 4 and some pens. Those are for you to write questions. If you have a question of a candidate, please write the candidate's name and the question on the card, and then Nancy Hensel right here and Jonathan Adler, 2 of our directors, will collect those, and then we'll be asking the questions to make it go smoothly on television. Our program chair, Alan Feldman, is going to introduce each of the candidates, who will have a certain amount of time to speak and take questions, and he will also be timing them. This election, June 7th, is very important. One of the elections will be final on June 7th, and that is for Shireen Smith for OC Board of Education. But all the other races are hotly contested with at least 3 or 4 candidates in each one. And in order to make it through to the November election, the candidates have to be in the top 2. That's the California primary system. So it is very important that we support them by getting out the vote, reminding your friends, also by giving them campaign contributions. We've got with us Dr. Mahmood for Congress. We have Judy Mancuso for California Assembly, Katrina Foley for Board of Supervisors, Pete Harden for District Attorney, and Rick Foster for Assessor. Jean Lepowski is one of our campaign chairs. She could not be here tonight, but Mary Rabando is the other campaign chair. She's right over here. You will hear from her later, and she will tell you how you can get involved in getting out the vote, in distributing the 6,000 door hangers that we will be distributing, and making phone calls within Laguna Woods. Okay, and now I would like to ask Alan to come up and introduce the candidates, starting with Dr. Mahmood.
Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you for everybody for being here tonight. Well, we're going to get right to it. Our first speaker, as Sue said, is Dr. Asif Mahol. He is running for the United States House of Representatives. He is running in our new, Laguna Woods new 40th Congressional District. We've been redistricted out of our old district, and Dr. Mahmood is running in the 40th District. Just very briefly, Dr. Mahmood, the doctor in front of his name, he is a physician. So Dr. Mahmood has spent his career helping people, serving people, and he wants to move it to a different arena now. He wants to move it to the arena of government. He's not unique in Orange County, but he's special in Orange County because he's one of those people that's literally the embodiment of the American dream. He immigrated to this country, I believe, as a teenager, if I'm not mistaken. And he built a life and a career here, a life and career that serves other people. And as I said, that's what he wants to do now. He wants to move it up. He wants to move it to national government. So I'm going to let him speak for himself. So I'm very happy to introduce to you the candidate for the 40th Congressional District, Dr. Asif Mahol.
Good evening. Alan, thank you so much for your advocacy and your work all the time. I know even before my presence in district, you have been doing work, and you are now. And there are not many people like Sue Deering. She's really a leader, an advocate, and she's been holding our hand from day one. Sue, thank you so much. And thank you each and everyone who's here, and many of you who I have interacted and have taken advice and guidance. And you've been really a tremendous support, and you have strengthened me way more than what I felt about 3 months ago. For some of those who have not seen me or met me before, my name is Dr. Asif Mahol. I'm a practicing physician. I have been practicing medicine in Southern California for the last 23 years, and I am an internal medicine and lung doctor. My life has been always around service. Service for those who really need it. Not only those who I know and who are related to me or my friends, but many of those who have never known and will never know, and that's what I believe in. I was born and raised in a very small rural town in Pakistan, and my both parents were ordinary workers, but my parents taught me one thing, that helping others is our highest calling. And that is why my parents wanted me to be a doctor. Against all the odds, my elementary schools did not have rooms. Really, we sat under the trees, and if it was raining, there was no class. Against all the odds, I was able to go to medical school, and I was the first kid from that town who went to medical school. And I was able to come to America, a dreamland, a land of opportunity, a land which offers opportunities and future for everybody from everywhere for over hundreds of years now. And I'm here, standing here today to extend my work. In my medical practice of 23 years, since I believe in serving and I believe in others, I have never charged a patient who did not have an insurance, because I believe healthcare is a right, not a privilege. I have done everything in my capacity to help my patients, getting the prescription, going to a nursing home, finding a home health for them, finding other services for them. But in my capacity as a doctor, I can help maybe 500, 1,000, or maybe 2,000 patients a year. But I believe it is not the thing that you just keep on going and fighting for individual patients. We need to make a policy change. And you cannot bring a policy change if somebody does not understand what is happening in the field. There is not a single member of Congress who is a physician and has seen a patient in the last 20 years. There might be some physicians on Congress who saw patients so long ago, they even forgot when they saw the patient, and most of them were policy people. They do not understand the challenges and problems and issues what are happening in the doctor's offices, in emergency room, in the hospital floors, and when they leave the hospital. That is why I decided that I need to move a step further, and I need to go to the policy making, represent our people. People of District 40 in Washington, D.C. Listen to your challenges, listen to your issues, listen to our problems, and discuss with them, and take the message to Washington, D.C. and speak for you. Speak exactly what you need, not to be running at somebody's advices and guides, which our present member of Congress is doing. Young Kim comes to you and talk about everything you want to hear, and she votes exactly opposite to that. When I launched this campaign, I promised you 3 things. Number 1, I will spend every second of my life doing good things for this district. Number 2, I'll bring every ounce of my energy to win this campaign. And number 3, I will bring resources not only from this district, not only from state of California, but all over the country. Friends, I have been doing advocacy for the last more than 2 decades. I have worked in several campaigns, not only in the state of California, around the country. I have knocked doors in Iowa and New Hampshire. I have done phone banking in Nevada and Arizona. I have gone to Pennsylvania and many other states, fighting for those candidates who I felt are good people for our communities. And when I went back to them, asking them support, I got overwhelming response. I am privileged to be endorsed by our Governor Gavin Newsom, our Senator Alex Padilla, most of the members of Congressional Caucus in the state of California. I am the unique candidate to be endorsed by Chair Foreign Affairs Committee, Chair Foreign Relations Committee. I have been really privileged to get your support and get almost 95% of delegates to get my endorsement from state of California Democratic Party. Many unions and many clubs and many PACs have endorsed us. And in last 70 days of my first quarter, we outraised young Kim by almost $500,000, and that money is individual money from people like you all over the country. Not a penny from big operation, not a penny from big pharma, not a penny from oil industry, but people's money. And this is the first time she has been outraised this much, because we have real mission, we have real issue, we have real cause, and we have a real campaign for the people, of the people, and campaign powered by people. That is why we were able to outraise her this much. Just a little bit comparison between me and my opponent, who most likely is going to be my opponent. She wants to repeal affordable health care, whereas I am a strong advocate for affordable, not only affordable health care, what is at this time, but go beyond that. We are not even close to where we want to be. Many of present over here are seniors and have gone through some health issue, or your relatives or somebody else has gone for health issues. What we have today is just a token. We want to make sure every child is covered for preventive care. We want to make sure vision, dental, and hearing is the particular part of healthcare. We want to make sure the prescription drugs are included, because today so many of you and so many of us are struggling to get prescriptions because these health plans are giving us runaround. I want to make sure our seniors, if they have any problem, they go home. There is a support there. Support in the form of home health. If somebody gets a stroke, physical therapy goes to their home. Not they have to struggle and find the rights to get somewhere. I want to make sure if somebody needs help, meals are present there for them at their home. And all this should be part of healthcare. I'm a strong and staunch advocate for women's rights and women's rights of choice and women's I want to make sure the reproductive freedom is not only by token there, but we provide them the tools, and those tools should be present in the healthcare plan so that our women don't have to fight and struggle. And not only state, because I'm running for Congress, not only fighting for our women here in state of California, because we are privileged and we are fortunate to have so much available over here. Ask people who are living in Texas, ask people who are living in Florida, ask people who are living in Arkansas, ask people who are living in Mississippi, how dangerous things are going. We should not be able to say, okay, we're going to provide everything to our women partners here in California, but we should be able to accept them, provide the logistics, provide the medical care, and provide the aftercare. And the most important thing is, I want to make sure mental health care is part of our health care. Mental health care is actually not existing right now. Mental health care is needed badly in our schools for our kids. Mental health care is needed for so many of our elderly, especially after going through this crisis of 2 years of pandemic. And also, I want to make sure whoever is there in Congress, they are ready for any disaster like pandemic which happened, the COVID pandemic. They are ready for that if anything comes next. And you need to have some medical experts over there to guide and to shape the policy. My opponent does not believe in equality. She has voted against equality. I strongly believe in that, and I will stand at every level with our members of LGBTQ+ community, and I will go at any extent to fight for their rights. Just weeks before Orange County oil spill disaster, she voted against billions of dollars coming to our communities as a disaster aid, because she does not care about communities. At the same time, she is taking hundreds of thousands of dollars from oil companies and she does not want to fight them because she cannot fight them because she's on their payroll. That is why I am not taking a penny from oil industry or any other corporation. I pledged that day one, and I pledged over here. During my campaign, I will not take a penny from those big interest companies or interest corporations because I want to fight for us. And I cannot fight for us if I am going to be taking any penny from those companies. My opponent does not believe in climate change. And we see every day, who can deny climate change in California? We see wildfires, we see the mudslides, we see people suffering and people losing houses and livelihood. And she does not believe in that because she's been ordered from her bosses not to believe that. I am a strong believer of science. I'm a physician and I believe climate change is real. And I believe we need to not only have to act that now for us, but for our children and their children. And this is our obligation and ethical duty to act on that now so that the future of our next generation is safe and secure. She voted recently against our common sense bipartisan infrastructure bill. Who will deny that we need to modernize our roads? Who will deny we need to make sure our bridges are safe and at the power of the expansion of our population? Who would deny that every individual, not only just in the state of California, but in this country, need to have access to a quality internet? But they are denying this thing, and they're denying in a daylight all those things which we need badly. She just recently voted against capping an insulin price because she's taking money from those pharmaceutical companies. Anybody who has diabetes or whose relative has diabetes and he or she is on insulin, how important is that for them? That is just like air and water for somebody who is diabetic, and she's fighting against that. I promise you, there are so many other things. There's not a one thing, there's not a one single issue where I can say that me and Young Kim agree on. And that is the best bet and that the best weapon I have, that contrast is clear. Any issue you pick up, we have a contrast. We don't agree. And that is what we need to fight over there. We literally have enough resources. We have people like you, the workers, the activists, the community organizers who have done this before. You did this for Katie Porter. You can repeat it, and it's not a long distant history. It's just recently. You can do it, and if we put every resource, every ounce of energy, I said before, every second of time into this campaign, we can win it. And not only win this by Congressional District 40, but win all the races around there, because we need to make sure Orange County becomes blue, and our progressive agenda and our agenda for people, people's care, for the quality and prosperity of people, for the livelihood and life of people, we need to do this thing, and we can do it if we spend every resource on this thing now. I'm going to end over here so that I think there are some questions, so that I don't want to take too much time. But in the end, I really, truly appreciate what you have been doing, what you are doing now, and what you will be doing in next coming weeks and months, because we don't have much time. I think just 20 days left for the ballot to come, and about 50 days for the primary day. And some elections will be decided on the primary day, so we need to put everything on. I am here, very flexible, very open for any advice, any guidance, any skills you have learned. I want to adopt them. I don't think this is my campaign. I think this is our campaign. We all need to work together to do it. I promise you, I will be in the front line fighting for you, and I will let you walk in front when we win this. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Sorry. Well, we have a couple of questions for you. Two that are sort of related, and one is, see, can you hear me?
Yeah.
No,
No.
microphone.
No. Come on, here. You have to speak.
Just talk right into it.
I'll just talk.
No, we need it.
All right, it's on now, sorry. You have to put it right next to your mouth. Well, one of the questions is, are you in favor, there's several medical questions,
Yes,
as
yes.
you might expect. So, one of them is, are you in favor of expanding Medicare? And another is, do you think that single-payer pharmaceuticals, there's any chance we can get that? And the other question is, what about corporate,
The microphone,
corporate
if you don't hold it up
involvement
to your mouth.
in providing health care?
Thank you, thank you. Medicare for all? Yes, I'm for that. But I would also say, if you cannot do that today, come on, cut down the age for Medicare. Bring it down to 55. Maybe bring it down to 50. Let a big chunk of population be involved now. Because there is an opposition, but this can be done. We should work on, and I promise you, from day one, I will work on that. My passion is healthcare. We are America is one of the top countries in the world, the first word of the first. And California is ahead of everything. And in this state, we are not really doing the favor. We're not doing the justice. So from day one, I will work on healthcare, especially Medicare for all, and cutting down the age in the beginning and stepwise going forward. We will have to pick a fight with pharmaceutical industry. I'm just going to give a little example. I said this before too. If somebody gets sick and you prescribe them antibiotic, just for example, Augmentin, you go over here, buy a CVS or somewhere, it might cost you about 60 bucks, maybe, it might cost you somewhere about $60 to $600, depending on your plan, depending on which pharmacy you go to, $60 to $600, one course of antibiotic. You just drive 20 miles down the road in Mexico. Same medicine, made by the same company, you can buy for $6. And this is one example. We can repeat this so many times. We need to fight with pharmaceutical industry, and we need to get people's right because they are really robbing us. And somebody has to come up and pick the fight, and it is the reason I am not taking a penny from them. And my goal is not only that I won't take a penny, my goal will be to go and convince my colleagues, come on, there are other ways, take it, do a sacrifice, not take it so that we can fight with them and bring this thing.
All right.
Big corporations, like big health plans and big insurance agencies, are also robbing us. They give you the health plan. If you want to go and see a specialist, you might have to wait for 3 to 6 months. Just imagine, if somebody is having a chest pain or having impending heart attack, and he has to wait 3 months for a cardiologist, more likely he is going to or she is going to have a heart attack than to see that cardiologist. If somebody has some bleeding problem, and before that person can get colonoscopy, 3 or 6 months, the cancer might be gone somewhere else. The problem is, people who are making policy, they don't understand the dynamics and the need and fragility of healthcare. They need to make these things that those healthcare plans, whether they are big insurance companies or smaller plans, they need to be obligated. If a person comes in with this problem, that patient needs to be seen in this particular time, but that's a particular specialty. So there is so much for us to do in healthcare that although we have achieved much, but honestly, I'm sorry to say over here, we have not even gone halfway through. We have to make a whole lot of progress. And I will stand with you for our communities and for our people at every level, whether it's getting the right prescription drugs, whether it is getting for our seniors their housing, whether it is getting for them a home health, whether it is for them to go to see a specialist in timely manner, or whether they need to do some tests where they don't have to wait for MRI for 2 months and CT scan for 1 month and some other tests to go and wait for something. We need to overhaul this system, and this can be only done if when somebody knows where the problem is. Solution cannot be found. As we say, we cannot treat a disease until we diagnose the disease. And we are sitting in Washington not knowing the problem, not knowing the challenge, not knowing what we need to do. We cannot bring the solution there. And I will be there with my many other colleagues, work on this thing and make a change. And I believe sometimes the goal sounds harder and tougher, but I believe if you work hard, if you work sincerely and selflessly, you can bring a solution, and we will be able to do it.
You mentioned when you started speaking that you are from Pakistan, an immigrant. You know that we have some negative feelings about immigrants. And I guess I'd like to, the question is, how do you fight for the prejudice, get rid of the prejudice against immigrants?
Speak into the microphone, thank you.
So the question over here is, since I am an immigrant and there is a significant segment of population in this area who does not like immigrants, how I would fight. I truly believe the strength of America is immigrants. Each and every one of us were immigrant at some point. Somebody was immigrant 200 years ago, and somebody is 6 months ago. But that is what America is different than the rest of the world. And that is why America has progressed. People from different religions and races and ethnicities and cultures and areas come in and bring their qualities. And they have learned to live together. And we see the progress coming up very, very well. And we can see, even in this crowd, this is in America. We can see real America here. And when I came to this country, I landed in Kentucky. This is back in 1991. And you can imagine, I was literally the second brown person in the University of Kentucky Medical Center. And I had no resistance in the beginning. Honestly, after my third year, everybody loved me. Americans are the most tolerant people I have traveled all over the world. There is not a one single community you will find outside America who's as tolerant, as accepting, as giving, as loving as Americans are. There are some misguided people, misinformed people, and I think we need to educate them. We need to get them involved. And as we have made progress, we'll be able to make progress. Our immigration, the other question is our immigration system. Our immigration system is broken. That needs to be overhauled. And we need to work on that. And Congress needs to work on that. We will work on that. But I personally think that when those people will meet me, they will communicate with me. My work over here has not been that I am going to go look for some Pakistanis or some Muslims or some South Asians. My work has been literally 99% of the time people who don't know me, who are not looking like me. I used to sit on East LA College Foundation to raise scholarships. I did not know any kid who was related to me, related to any of the people I know. And out of my 5 years, 3 years, I raised more money than anybody else over there for those kids who are deserving and who are really, really needing for their college. I sit on a Valley Rescue Mission that is the largest homeless shelter in, actually not in just LA County, in California. And we help people who are not like me, who are not from Pakistan, who are basically across the board, and we help them. And these are the examples we can lead them, and large majority of people in this country and in this state are very loving, very accepting, and we need to educate. I'm not going to say any hated word, I'm not going to say any repelling word. All I'm going to say is we need to prove by our action that we are all good if we are together, if we are united, if we bring all our qualities together, make this city, make this district, make this state, and make this country better, and keep the progress going. We need to have everybody all together, and this is a nation of immigrants, and we need to keep that example going.
Last question, and it has to do with what would you do in Congress to help seniors with inflation, especially those who are on a fixed income? And I guess I'm going to add to that question, how do we get people to understand, not just seniors, but in the country, the causes of inflation? And you kind of mentioned education with healthcare and immigration, so I think we have education here too.
Thank you so much. Inflation is at this point definitely an issue. And this is a time of service. We need to help our seniors. We need to help our friends and relatives and neighbors who are on fixed income and they cannot afford up to that point. Biggest catalyst to inflation is the oil prices. Because when oil prices go up, everything goes up. We need to do a 2 or 3-pronged way. Number one, I like the idea of some lawmakers to give the gas card to all our communities to offset the gas prices. But we need to work on high-paying, bring more high-paying jobs. More high-paying jobs, not only for just freshly graduates, people who go to college and graduate, but every level. Because we need to elevate our communities. We need to make sure more vocational schools are available, more people have access to vocational work where they can make better money. But we will have challenges. Their present inflation is also somewhat related to what is happening in Ukraine and Russia. And we know those forces will always play their part to put America down. But we are a resilient nation. We will come through that. And that is why one of the reasons I believe that we need to work on alternate energy. And not only get rid of fossil fuel, but provide more jobs to our newcomers and help our climate with that energy. And most importantly, become self-sufficient. We don't have to rely on Iran and Saudi Arabia and Russia. All those nations are bigger nations and they try to take advantage. They take all the benefit from us, but whenever the time comes, they try to take advantage of us. So we need to do several measures, and I am very sensitive to people's problem, especially in our district and also in our state and our country. And this is going to be, other than healthcare, inflation will be my, hopefully it's not going any worse at that time, that will be my top priority when I go to Congress, and I will do everything possible to help our people, especially who are on fixed income, how we can adjust their income so that they can cope up with inflation. I am getting the message that time is up. Again, I truly appreciate, I'm here for any advice. I'm again saying that please don't feel ever that we think we know everything. We know whatever because of your experience in the last 3 months you have given me, and please keep an eye for us, advise us, tell us what else we need to do so that we can come through this hump and beat and flip this district. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Mahol. It's really great to hear somebody speak with real passion about things, I've got to say. And we're going to move it along here. Our next speaker is going to be Pete Harden, who's a candidate for Orange County District Attorney. Now, Pete's been here before, so some of you might be familiar with him. Just to lay a little bit of background, Pete was he was in the Marine Corps. He was an officer in the Marine Corps, served in Afghanistan. He also practiced law in the Peace Corps. Peace Corps, pardon me, in the Army, in the Marine Corps. Oh well. When he got out of the Marine Corps, he became a deputy district attorney here in Orange County. He became a special assistant U.S. attorney in California, Central District, California. He's practiced law since. He practiced in law firms. He's practiced as a solo practitioner. And again, he is running for district attorney. And so I want to bring it up here to speak, but in case you wonder why we need Pete Harden as district attorney, just one thing. His current opponent has count of seven separate suits against him for sexual misconduct or harassment. So let's hope for our next district attorney, Pete Harden.
All right, I am so thrilled to be here. This is my third time here in Laguna Woods, and I love coming here. It's such a great environment, such great facilities, incredibly energized and passionate people. Thank you for having me back. I want to start by introducing my amazing campaign manager, Isaac Epstein. So much more than just a campaign manager to me. He's become an incredibly good friend and one of my primary advisors on all these issues. And I urge you to stop by our little table, our booth back there on your way out to pick up one of our fancy little pieces of literature here to keep us in mind. Thank you, Isaac. You may go. I also want to introduce my assistant campaign manager. My 9-year-old son Wyatt is here with us. Wyatt has been a long-suffering assistant campaign manager. This campaign has taken hours away from Harry Potter and baseball and everything else. So I'm very grateful to him. And I promised him ice cream right after this. We're actually Italian ice. He's into Italian ice these days. So after I speak, I'm going to take my leave, if I may. But I'm incredibly grateful to be here with so many great candidates and public servants. If there's one thing I want people to know about me, it's that I've always answered the call to serve, whether it was as a Marine Corps officer in garrison, or at war in Afghanistan, or protecting our Southern California communities as a deputy district attorney, a special assistant United States attorney, or a judge advocate in the military. Serving our communities has always been of fundamental importance to me, and I got that from my parents. My father was an Army veteran and later became a judge. My mother was a former school teacher, worked for the government, and they instilled in me the values that guided them, which were servant leadership, integrity, courage, responsibility, and compassion for our fellow human beings, which are all the things that drove me in my career and drive me here today. I'm running for district attorney for two reasons, folks. The first is because I have had a front row seat throughout my career to our criminal justice system, and I've seen firsthand how it's broken in some fundamental ways and fails to keep us safe. First and foremost, community safety. You know, in the past 3 or 4 years here in Orange County during my opponent's time in office, homicides in Orange County have reached a 23-year high. And crime is up in all categories across the board at significantly higher percentages than it is in LA and in other parts of California. I'm also running to address the fundamental inequities in our system. Homelessness in Orange County in the last 3 years has grown over 40%. And we see this everywhere we go in Orange County, and it's unacceptable. We need leaders who will stand up for affordable housing, will stand up for shelters, and the services that people need to get off the streets, the type of mental health and drug and alcohol addiction services that in all too many ways in this country separate the haves and the have-nots in this country. I've seen this firsthand in my own life. My family has struggled mightily with mental health and addiction issues. I have 2 brothers who have both been to rehab. And yet when I was a prosecutor, you know, my family knew about those resources, and we were privileged enough to be able to know about them and afford to send people to get counseling or psychiatrists or other treatments. But in all too many communities across Orange County and this country, first of all, a lot of people don't even know that these services exist. Second, there can be cultural barriers, like a stigma associated with seeking help. And then finally, of course, the financial barriers that people face. And I want to work on addressing all of those. And then finally, fiscal irresponsibilities and waste in our system. You know, Republicans say that they're for limited government, and yet over the past 30 years, since the 1990s, you know, no system in this county or this country has become more bloated in that time than our criminal justice system. We are throwing good money after bad on a system that clearly fails to keep us safe. And we see that across the country with crime rising. Orange County is the 5th largest county in America. We are larger than 21 states. We're the largest county in America with a Republican district attorney. We have a lot to say about these issues that can change not just Orange County, not just California, but have a voice in our national conversation around these issues, which I'm excited to do. The other reason I'm running is, as Alan alluded to, our current district attorney is drowning in a sea of scandals. He is facing 7 lawsuits for sexual harassment within his office. He is the first district attorney in California history to be kicked off of a case because of his unethical treatment of survivors of sexual assault. This is in the Grant Robichaux and Sarissa Riley Newport Beach doctor sexual assault case. Again, crime is up across the board because we have a district attorney who is too busy dealing with his own lawsuits and settling cases, millions of dollars of our taxpayer money to do his job. And we need to turn those two things around. I'm incredibly grateful to you all for the support you've already shown us in terms of financial. Our fundraising has been fantastic. We've raised over $800,000 in the course of the last year, thanks to your help. Your time, your treasure, and your talent has been fantastic. We celebrated the year anniversary of our campaign about a year ago. About 2 weeks ago. And we are so excited about the momentum we have. We've earned endorsements up and down the ballot and across the political spectrum. The polling looks great for us. We've got 20 days left here until ballots reach all of our mailboxes. And I'd be incredibly grateful for your continued support. However you think is best, whether it's supporting our campaign with a contribution, or hey, on May 9, when those ballots hit all our mailboxes, text everyone you know and tell them about these fantastic candidates here. Remind people to go to their mailboxes and vote for us. I'm gonna keep it short and come in under my time to leave a couple of minutes for questions, and then Wyatt is gonna grab me by the ear and drag me out of here. Any questions?
Well, the first question is, what are your thoughts on reducing hate and hate groups in Orange County?
Thank you. So the question was, what are my thoughts on reducing hate crimes and hate groups in Orange County? This is a huge problem, and I'm glad this came up because I didn't mention in my talk. Hate crime, particularly against our Asian American Pacific Islander community, is up over 1,800% during my opponent's time in office. Now, he will stand up and thump his chest and talk about how many more hate crime prosecutions he's working on, but you shouldn't get extra credit for just doing your job. He is not doing anything to get out in front of these issues and address the systemic issues that lead to this kind of behavior in the first place. What I have been doing during the campaign, what I will continue to do, is build bridges with communities that have never known that they could or should have a voice in our criminal justice system, whether that's in Santa Ana or Anaheim or Buena Park or everywhere else. A number of places, particularly in North County, are filled with people who have typically been over-policed and have never known that they could have a voice in our criminal justice system. We need leaders who, every time not just hate crimes happen, but hate incidents happen, will go out into the communities, stand with the leaders in those communities, and speak up against this awful behavior. And then finally, in law enforcement, after the January 6th insurrection, we saw, unfortunately, a few, not an overwhelming amount, but troublingly a few law enforcement officers and agents in Orange County who were affiliated with extremist right-wing hate groups. And my solution for that is to make us a little bit more like the federal system in vetting law enforcement. So When I was a federal prosecutor, I worked with every federal law enforcement agency out there, the whole alphabet soup of agencies. And, you know, these public servants go through about a year or more of background investigation. I mean, it's really intense. They talk to everyone from their backgrounds. They've got to fill out an incredibly extensive form, and they root out all those types of things. We need something similar at the state level. We need the legislature to create and approve some sort of similar entity in California as a whole to conduct background investigations of people who are becoming law enforcement officers, so we root those issues out before they even become an issue in the first place.
What will you tell your deputy district attorneys on day one?
Well, I'm excited to work with the deputy district attorneys. You know, it's a great office. I've worked there, and there are a ton of incredibly dedicated public servants there who want to do the right thing. They have rots at the top of that office that needs to be replaced. We need to institute real leadership, not showmanship, but leadership in Orange County. I'm excited to sit down with the deputy district attorneys, explain my positions on the issues from the death penalty to, you know, ending prosecution of children as adults, which Orange County has had a problem with throughout our history. We actually recently have the unfortunate distinction of prosecuting more children as adults than any other county in all of California. And Orange County can and should be a lot better than that. That detracts from our public safety in this community and in this country as a whole. Studies tell us very clearly that when kids are locked up with more hardened offenders, it should surprise none of us that they're abused, and they learn from them. And when they get out, they lash out. And the recidivism rates for those children is significantly higher than it is for their peers who go through the juvenile justice system. So these are the kinds of talks that I'm looking forward to having with the deputy district attorneys, and I want to restore integrity to their office and give them the discretion that they need to carry out their jobs. I'm getting the 3-minute warning, and I suspect that the next question will take me over, but I want to say, I see a lot of people raising their hand. I love this energy. This is why I love coming here. And that's what Isaac is here for, as he looks up from his phone. Accost him on your way out and ask any questions and get our contact information, because I'd love to have one-on-one conversations with you all too. Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
Thank you very much, Pete Harden, candidate for Orange County District Attorney. So we're going to move to our next speaker now. Many of you know with redistricting, we're now in a new state assembly district, now in the 72nd Assembly District. And for our new assembly district, we also have a brand new candidate, who I believe this is her first run for public office, or elective office, Judy Mancuso. She's not a stranger to politics. She's the founder and CEO of an organization called Social Compassion and Legislation, which advocates for environmental issues and also for the humane treatment of animals. I think animals are a big part of what Judy Mancuso has done in the past, and she's thinking of what she thinks about. And this organization, Social Compassion and Legislation, has sponsored 54 bills in Sacramento, and 19 of them have become law. So I think that's a pretty good batting average there. She's she's been very she had a career in information technology for about 20 years. She's a member of the former member of the California Veterinary Medical Board and vice chair right now of the Laguna Woods Beach Environmental Sustainability Committee. So she's been involved in public affairs. She knows how to work in electoral politics. She's shown that she can get things done. And we have a new assembly district, so let's have a brand new member of the assembly. So Judy Mancuso.
Thank you, Alan, and thank you for all that you do with your communications program, and thank you to Sue and all of you for being here. So I will tell you a little bit about me. I've been living in Laguna Beach for 27 years. And I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. My family, Dr. Mahmoud was talking about how we're all immigrants. My family came over from Sicily. My grandparents on both sides, my grandmother and, on my father and my mother's side, in 1913, 1915. as they say, they came over on the boat, right? And so they came over on the boat, they landed in New York, and then they traveled to St. Louis, Missouri, which is where both my parents were born there. They eventually met. My dad was in World War II, and both my brothers were in Vietnam. So I come from a household of veterans and union folks and immigrants, and you know, I was raised on just, you work hard for a living and you get big things, and you don't get things unless you work hard. So I've always had a very strong work ethic, and I was the first in my family to get a college education, because those things weren't really attainable back in the day. You know, they cost money and whatnot that not everybody could afford. So I was the first, and my background was in information technology, where I spent 20 years, as Alan was saying. And then I decided to do something that was more meaningful than just be a part of the corporate world. And I went into saving animals' lives because animals can't speak and they need our help. So I started my nonprofit, and I felt that if I was going to do charity work and volunteer work at the time, that I wanted to put my efforts to where I would get the biggest bang for my buck. And that is in legislation, because you can ask people to do the right thing and educate until you're blue in the face, but sometimes they still don't come over to your side. So when you pass laws, first of all, there's an education process behind it, and then you also get voluntary compliance, as we say, the low-hanging fruit, right? So you can make a really big difference by doing legislation. So when this seat opened up because of redistricting, there was only a Republican in the race, and that was Diane Dixon, the Newport Beach City Council member. So I kept waiting for a Democrat's name to be in there. I'm a lifelong Democrat, and I certainly don't want to go back to the Mad Harper, John Morlock, Dana Rohrabacher days, right? So I kept asking all the leaders, the Democratic leaders, like, hey, what's going on? Like, we can't by default just have a Republican in office. And they said, well, nobody's stepping up, Judy, but you know, you've been doing this for years, getting legislation passed, and why don't you run? And I thought, well, I guess I could do that. So here I am. Thank you. So I have 17 years experience now in this legislative world. So that works really well, because on day one of being in Sacramento, I know everybody, I know how to get things done, I know the codes on the bathroom and how to get in. Anyway, the one big thing that also the doctor mentioned that I want to follow up on is one of the biggest things that I've done is go up against special interest. And I know you guys read about this in the newspaper and see it on the TV, but boy, I have to tell you just how real it is. And these special interests, big pharma, big insurance, big ag, big oil, they are working against our interest. And their special interest is just about money. And I know you've all heard that a million times before, but I'm here to tell you just how real that is. And so working for animals and the environment, I mean, they don't have a voice, right? So the special interests really come after you. 10 minutes or less? Okay. 10 minutes, that's a long time actually. But so I've had to go up against special interest, and you know, sometimes we lose, but guess what? Those 19 bills that got signed into law, we won, okay? We won, and we won big. went against big pharma, big medical who wanted to keep testing on animals until there's no animals left, and we won against them. So I too am not taking money from these people, nor would they even offer it to me because they know who I am. Okay, so that's the thing. They know I'm running. They know I'm Judy Mancuso that's been at the Capitol for 17 years going up against them. And guess what they're going to do? They're going to come after me big time. Chevron just gave $400,000 to the California GOP 2 weeks ago. And the hit pieces, there's a billboard that's gone up against Dave Jones. I'm sure we'll see things like, oh, that Judy Mancuso, she's vegan, will take the food off your plate, or she's an animal rights terrorist, you know. I mean, there's going to be some really crazy stuff. But I just want you to know that I'm running for us, the people here in 72, and thank you, and the environment, and our wildlife. And we are the underdog in the legislature, all three of those things. But I do know how to fight, and I know how to win, and when I get there, the relationship here doesn't stop, you know, and that's what's so great about these Democratic clubs across the district, is because you can get the pulse of the district and say, hey, what are the issues? You know, like, let me help you and you help me. One of the things that is top of my agenda is climate change. And I have ideas about how we get solar on roofs and on big box stores. And maybe we could even gift electricity to seniors. Because right now, yes, please. I'm a senior, I'm 59 years old, but you know what? I just put solar panels on my roof. All right, so here's a perfect example. Now, at the end of the year, Southern California Edison will either write me a check, give me a credit, because I'm going to generate more energy than I'm going to use. But wouldn't it be cool if I could gift that energy and instead say, hey, I want to give it to Laguna Woods, you know, leisure club, you know, the women's shelter. I want to give it to the animal shelter. I think that we should be able to give our energy away for those of us that are generating it at our houses, and we don't necessarily need the credit. So that's one thing I want to look into. And then the other thing to look into is this subsidy of paying for people's electricity. Because, you know, when I went to Southern California Edison the other day, I had to call them about something. And it says, you know, if you need help paying your bill, you know, call this number, do this thing. And I thought, wait a second, we could pay for everybody's bill that doesn't have the money if we just put solar on Gelson's, Pavilions, Ralph's. There's other communities that are doing this. So I would like to do a pilot program for District 72 and start rolling out programs like this. You know, thinking out of the box, right? Okay, question one, I'm ready, because I can just keep talking, so we better cut it off, because I'm a talker, and I mean, I'm very passionate about this stuff.
Well, sort of related to what you were just talking about, are you aware of the Southern California Edison effort to kill residential solar?
Well, is this about the thing they were doing in Sacramento to change it? Can I get more specifics? Because there was a bill, well, a program change they were going to do, but it got shot down and it's not moving. And that's one thing, but you know, I'm there to champion solar. That's our way out of this. I mean, they keep talking about electric cars. Hey, I'm all about electric cars, but the price tags have to come down, because not everybody can get into a $50,000 electric car. So one of the things that we have to do is mandate that we get some affordable electric cars. Yes, ma'am, next one.
Well, another question related to that, which is not one here, but we live in the Laguna Woods.
Yes.
And if we want electric cars, we have to have a place to plug them in. And for some, that's a problem. I know where I live, there's one outlet and 7 or 8 cars.
Expanding, you know, I've been talking to the labor folks. Now, they're kind of afraid of me because I'm an environmentalist. Okay, so they're like, oh, she'll take our jobs away, shut down all those oil rigs. And I say, no. We need each other to get to the next place here. And one of the things is putting charging stations everywhere. You have to have them. Thank you. How do you move to electrification? How do you move to electric cars and you can't plug them in? If you are in a rental, you should have a bank of these things, you know? So this is on my list, absolutely, thank you.
Okay, question, to what extent is the Assembly in Sacramento, or to what extent are the Assembly in Sacramento beholden to lobbyists and money interests? And maybe you could give us one example of how you dealt with one of those lobbyists or in the 19 bills that you passed.
Yeah, okay. Oh, all right, I'll give you one. I'll try to be quick. I know time's limited. So, okay, so you know that companies test on animals for medical purposes, but also for cosmetics and makeup. Okay, well, we haven't made any animals tested on for makeup and personal products for many, many years because all these formulas are out there. There are tests that are non-animal tests that have a higher efficacy rate than animal tests, right? So all this science is there, it's proven. So we said, let's make it mandate that the state of California will only sell products that are not tested on animals for personal hygiene and cosmetics. Wow, wouldn't that be something? We'd save, I don't even know, hundreds of millions of animals exponentially from being tortured and killed. So the senator that was carrying the bill for me was Senator Kathleen Galgiani, and she called and she said, Judy, the opposition's here, and you better come in and talk to them. I'm like, okay, so I come with my scientists, the toxicologists, my lobbyists, and there's like 20 of them. There's 20, I counted. They lined her office, and they all looked at us like, are you kidding me? Like, you animal rights people think you're gonna blah, blah, blah. They were Procter & Gamble, Unilever, fragrance, chemical companies, everybody. And long story short, because of coalition building, people all over the state of California sending in letters, showing up, making phone calls, tens of thousands of letters. We got the bill done, it's signed into law, and 9 other states have followed, and China has even changed the way that they are now doing things and not mandating testing on animals. I'm done. I could be here all night. Maybe I'll get asked back. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Okay, so moving on next. Next we're going to speak. We're going to hear Shireen Smith speak. Shireen Smith is running for the Orange County Board of Education in the 5th District, which is now the district that includes Laguna Woods. Shireen Smith has been an educator that's what she's done. She's done everything you can do in the school system. She's been a classroom teacher, she's been a principal, she's been an assistant superintendent, she's been a superintendent. She's worked in all facets of education. She is extremely qualified for this job. And if you follow the hijinks of the Board of Education, which I'm sure she will tell you about, when she gets on the Board of Education, she will probably be the only qualified person there. The only one who knows anything about education and the only one who has education as their agenda is. So I just want to bring her on to speak to you. This is running for the Board of Education, Orange County, 5th District, Shireen Smith.
Thank you for having us all here tonight. We really appreciate it. It's important for us to reach out to as many voters as possible, especially here in District 5, which is like Katrina Foley's area. Pete Harden, and of course our assessor candidate have the entire county. But for us in South Orange County District 5, it's a little bit tough because we still tilt Republican. What really bothers me about the Orange County Board of Education, well, there's many things, but one of the things that really bothers me is it's supposed to be a nonpartisan office, and it has become extremely partisan, extremely right-wing. These are Republicans who are not what we would call, you know, our normal Republicans from the past, or the sensible Republicans. Some of my friends, you know, rhinos, or what they are called now, not those Republicans. These are extremists. And I was doing some research the past couple of days because I was preparing for a talk. And I looked into, I don't know if you are familiar with a couple of the town halls that the Orange County Board of Education had. Back in 2020, they had one, you know, COVID was new. And so in the summer, they were very upset that schools had gone virtual in March of 2020 when we had the pandemic. And they were very upset about that. They wanted all the kids back in school just like normal, like there was no pandemic. They didn't want masks, they didn't want social distancing, nothing. So they convened a panel of ostensible experts. And of course they stacked the panel with people who were going to say exactly what they wanted them to say. So I did some research into them because of course I knew they were not going to be people who were supporters of public education or people who were supporters of common sense health and safety measures. But what I found out was really disturbing. They are all very intimately connected to the far right. And there's a lot of big money behind them. So that town hall forum, they wrote a white paper. Well, supposedly they wrote a white paper. Actually, the white paper was written by one of the board members and this man named Will Swain, who is the head of a right-wing nonprofit, California Policy Center, I think it's called. But then they said the panel wrote this report and made these recommendations that all the kids should be back in school with no masks, no social distancing. The pandemic was a hoax. So they lied and they misled people, and it was very purposeful. They did a second town hall about a year later, and that town hall was about ethnic studies, but they called it CRT. And we don't teach CRT in K-12 schools. We just don't. That is a legal theory that is taught in law school. We teach history in school. We do have an ethnic studies requirement now for graduation. It's a one-semester requirement. But it teaches about the many accomplishments and good work that have been done about the various races and ethnicities in California. We have a very diverse state. We have a very diverse county. And we want to honor the accomplishments, and we want to, you know, acknowledge the bad things that have happened in history. A lot of bad things have happened in history. That doesn't make our country any less great. That just means we need to keep working at doing better. I would hate to think that we would ever do something again. You know, where I grew up in Northern California, it's an Indian reservation, so you know, we basically displaced the indigenous people in the United States over, you know, a couple hundred years. We had intern camps for Japanese Americans during World War II. That's appalling. I think there were 10 or so in the United States. We should learn about those things and be sure that we never do them again. So they are very intent on creating controversy and misleading people. And that is because they want to undermine public schools. They want to defund public schools. They want to privatize public schools. And they're very intentional about it. And Judy spoke a little bit, and I think maybe Pete did too, about the big money that's behind the Republicans. The lady that I'm running against, her name is Lisa Sparks. She ran for the first time in 2018. One donation that she received was $180,000, one, like a couple $100 shy. And that was from the charter school PAC. because they see the charter schools as a way to defund our public schools. So to me, it's like an Orange County Board of Education race, getting one donation of that size. I won't raise that much for my entire campaign. My goal is 150 and I haven't hit that yet. But that's one donation. Mary Barkey, who's the president, and another person, they received even more from the charter school. So there's clearly something amiss. Got my time check there. The other thing that really bothers me about the Orange County Board of Education is that they are wasting our tax dollars. They have wasted over $5 million and counting so far since about 2018 when they got the majority. They have filed 3 lawsuits against the governor, and one was, well, they were all basically related to the pandemic. So the first one in 2020 was dismissed by the California Supreme Court. The second one in the summer of 21 was dismissed by the California Supreme Court. They decided to try another tact, and so they filed the 3rd lawsuit right before this past Thanksgiving in California Superior Court. That one is still pending. They have filed 2 lawsuits against the elected Orange County Superintendent. So he's the man who runs the Orange County Department of Ed. They're supposed to work in collaboration to serve the 28 school districts in Orange County, to serve our public school systems, to serve our kids. Instead, they have sued him twice because he has the gall to support public schools and not go along with what they want. And by the way, he's a Republican. He's been a Republican, I think, his entire life. He's a very conservative religious person, but he's also a public school advocate. He's very smart. He was a superintendent. He was a vice president of the college board. He knows what he's doing. He's very caring and compassionate. So they have sued him twice. And then they have also filed lawsuits against this group called the Committee on School District Boundaries. So when we had the census, we had to create new boundaries for all of the electoral areas. One of those was for the Orange County Board of Education. They created a map, it was gerrymandered. The county committee, there's a second step for the Orange County Board of Ed. The county committee looked at it and said, no, you have split up 2 large school districts, Saddleback Valley Unified, Capistrano Unified, and that doesn't really make sense. You're a board of education. You should keep your school districts together so that you can serve them. So, long story is, they came up with a new map, and that was the one that went to the Registrar of Voters. Well, the Board of Education was not happy because that did not allow them to go forward with their gerrymandered map. So they went to court twice to try to prevent it from being the one used in this election, and they lost. And so we have the map that actually will be beneficial for school districts. However, Mary Barkey, the president, said yes, they would be suing because they don't want that map to be used going forward. So we can expect another lawsuit. So $5 million and counting for all those lawsuits. And some of them are ongoing. If you look at their agenda at any given meeting, you'll see 4 or 5 closed session items about the lawsuits. So it's ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. And we're paying for all of it, each side. We are paying every single dollar. And every single dollar could be used for educational purposes rather than the lawsuits. And by the way, they have 3 attorneys now. We are paying for this board that should have, like a very limited influence on what's happening. We're paying for 3 attorneys. They used to share 1 with the Orange County Department of Ed. Now they have 3, one of whom is a litigation specialist, and one of those is their friend. And Mary Barkey calls him our dear friend Jonathan. So they've hired him, and they're using, again, our tax dollars to pay him and his law firm, which does a lot of right-wing work. So it's just basically channeling our tax dollars into those issues. So in my mind, they really could care less about public education. They're really more concerned about partisan ideology and creating distrust and undermining our schools because that's what they want to do. My opponent just received 2 donations in the past 3 weeks or so. One from the charter schools for $25,000. And she received one from Mark Boucher, and I don't know if any of you are familiar with that name. He's been around in Orange County for a long time. I think he's married to Michelle Still. Yeah. And I think he was maybe the chair of the county GOP at one time, and he's running for something, I don't remember what. But he had a while back during the 90s, he had formed this group called the Education Alliance that was against public schools. I mean, that's their mission. And so he's, in the Lincoln Club. He's connected with all of the very right-wing groups. So he gave her $25,000 too. So she has received, and she received those last time as well, big dollar donations. And when you receive big dollar donations like that, generally that, you basically are committing to a philosophy and ideology to whatever that group, wants you to do. They are using their influence. Don't have that same kind of donor base. I have a very broad-based grassroots campaign, and I'm really happy about that because I have hundreds and hundreds of small dollar donors, which is good because that means they're paying attention and that means they'll vote and they will tell other people. I hope that you will join me in this effort because I believe public education is the foundation of our democracy. I'm speaking as a person who grew up in a blue-collar family. It's the way for us to join the middle class and maybe even go up the economic ladder even farther. We are an aspirational people in the United States, and public education is a way for all of us to aspire to a good, rich life. We need smart, intelligent, thoughtful citizens who can think critically and make decisions that are in the best interest of our country. Right now, I think we're at a turning point, and public education is part of that. And again, it's very purposeful and intentional to undermine our democratic traditions and norms and values. And it's scary. It's a scary time. So again, I was recruited to run for this office. I was like Judy. I never thought I would run for an elected office. I retired after a long, wonderful career in public education. And who wants to walk into the toxic cesspool at the Orange County Board of Ed? Me, I guess. All right, someone had to stand up. Someone had to stand up. I said, okay, I'm in if you'll be behind me. So I'm going forward. I need you all behind me, with me, alongside me, so that we can turn things around in Orange County. Orange County, as Pete said, is one of the largest counties in the United States. Larger than 20, it's actually 20 states and DC. We have a larger population. We can do better than this. We deserve better than this. We deserve people who actually care about public education and who will be strong fiscal stewards of our tax dollar and will champion our public schools. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Shereen. One of the questions that we have is, what does the Orange County Board of Ed oversee? And how is it separate from the Orange County, I think, Department of Ed and Independent Districts?
Yes, it's so confusing and it's obscure, and we should have to pay zero attention to the Orange County Board of Ed. We really should. And if they weren't wasting our tax dollars and creating controversy, it would be, we wouldn't have to. So there's the Orange County Board of Education, and they have a very limited role. And there's the Orange County Department of Education. They're parallel. The Department of Education is run by the superintendent, who is an elected official. It's kind of like, I'll compare them to the Sheriff's Department and the Orange County Board of Supervisors. So the sheriff is elected and he runs the Sheriff's Department, but the Board of Supervisors has, some budgetary oversight. So the Board of Education is supposed to provide a mechanism for transparency for budgets, and they are supposed to provide an appeal, like an appellate role for transfers from one school district to another or for expulsions. Very obscure things you should not have to pay attention to. The Department of Education provides lots of support to our local school districts, and that's really what we should be doing, is supporting the Department of Education.
Okay.
Anything else? Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. If you want to sign, I have lots.
Thank you very much, Shereen. Running for Board of Education in the 5th District. That's our district here in Laguna Woods. Now, our next speaker. Yes.
Her election is over.
Oh, that's right. Yes, thank you, Janice. That's right. That's an important issue. Shereen Smith's election to the Board of Education is not in November. It is in what's called the primary in June. Whoever gets the most votes for this office in June is elected to the office. So we don't get another chance if she comes in second. We've got to do it. We've got to go out and vote for her. We've got to make sure we vote in the primary. The primary in California, it's easy to vote, but the ballot is maddeningly confusing. Rick Foster is running for assessor, and this is another race in Orange County which could be over in June. So it's so important that we get out and vote. If somebody gets 50% of the vote plus one in the office for assessor, they will be elected and nobody gets a second chance. Doesn't go back for a second chance. So I want to bring him up here. Rick Foster, he's running for assessor. He's dealt with mortgages and housing his entire career as his business, but he's also very involved in helping refugees, helping LGBT people. I'm going to let him speak for himself. I just want to show you something. I showed this at another meeting, and he didn't get upset with me, so I'm going to show it again. Rick was a child actor, but this is not from his, I don't think this is from his acting day, but this is on his website. I just want you to take a look. I know some of you can't see it. So how can you not vote for this guy on a horse here, huh? I mean, is there any other choice? So, Rick Scott.
Foster.
Rick Foster, candidate for assessor.
Thank you very much. Well, my name is Rick Foster, and I'm running for Orange County Assessor. Now, I want to take a moment to tell you a little bit about myself, about the assessor, and what the assessor does, and then I'm going to ask you for your support and tell you ways that you can help me get elected on June 7th. So, for the past 40 years, I have been working in the housing sector. And for the past 30 of those 40 years, I've been working closely with Orange County Housing Authority to help provide homes for our most at-risk citizens, our veterans, our senior citizens, and domestic violence survivors transitioning from shelters into permanent housings. I've started a company where we invest in senior housing and housing for our veterans, that I work closely with Orange County Housing to help get those at-risk people into those permanent homes. Now, in my career, right after college, I worked for Security Pacific National Bank, selling the mortgage loan papers on the secondary market for investors. After that, I went to work at First American Title, where I became a title researcher. And that is where I discovered the mistakes that the Orange County assessor makes numerous times that cost everybody money. The only way to appeal an assessment is through an appeal. You have to appeal it. It costs the county a lot of money to do that. Now, the assessor, a lot of people think, involves collecting taxes. The assessor has one job, and that job is to properly, accurately, and fairly assess the $700 billion of assets in Orange County. The assessor manages a team of 300 to 400 staff and appraisers that go out and appraise everything in Orange County, from aviation, marine vessels, entertainment, amusement parks, residential dwellings, commercial dwellings, as well as manufacturing and commercial properties. That $700 billion is assessed, and each year the assessor is responsible for transferring that assessment roll to the tax collector, and then the tax collector is responsible for applying the California tax code to those assessments and then generates your tax bill. But the assessor does not collect the taxes, but merely accurately and fairly is supposed to provide the tax collector with that assessment roll. Our current assessor does not believe in technology, does not believe in transparency, and has no integrity. Now, my opponent has received money from the Board of Supervisors and from the general fund to upgrade and buy new software that would make it easier for the appraisers to do their jobs. Without that software, human error is imminent. And with those human errors, we have inaccuracy in the assessments. And when we have the inaccuracy of the assessments, the only remedy is an appeal. those appeals cost the county a lot of money and resources. I want to put an end to that by investing in new and modern technology and software to help make the assessor's job easier. The other thing that I want to do is I want to partner with our community colleges and our local colleges to offer courses in municipal appraisal so that the future population or pool of future employees at the assessor's office is better trained and we have a better quality candidate coming to work at the assessor's office. Currently, a new hire is hired at the assessor's office and 3 field appraisers are taken out of the field to train 1 new hire. I think that we can save the county money by having those municipal appraisal courses taught at our local community colleges and local colleges here in Orange County. Thank you. Our current assessor is taking money out of your pocket right now, and that's nothing new for him. When he was on the Board of Equalization, he cost us California $5 billion because him and his assistant, Michelle Steele, he voted to give a tax incentive to some of his buddies in Silicon Valley. And in doing so, it cost California $5 billion. When he was asked why he did it, he said that he didn't understand the complete, ramifications of that law. Him and Michelle Steele at that time, I believe, was his researcher on that policy. So Claude Parrish, my opponent, is not, doesn't mind taking money out of your pocket and out of the pockets of other Californians. I assure you, as your next assessor, I will bring integrity back to the assessor's office and I will bring transparency. My opponent does not believe in even allowing his employees to use email because he doesn't want a paper trail of what Jane said to a customer versus what Mike said to a customer. So if you get rid of the email, then there's no paper trail of, it's all willy-nilly at the assessor's office. I want to put an end to that, and I also want to bring new technology. Some of the programs at the assessor's office has not been updated since 1992. And as we know, technology's changed since 1992. Because the assessor does not hold any legislative power, the assessor does not have the ability to enact law, change policy, or legislation. However, the assessor has the ability to sponsor and support legislation and policy that benefits everyone in Orange County. And that's what I'll do as your next assessor. But because the assessor does not have that legislative authority, it's very difficult to raise money. It's difficult for the assessor's campaign to raise money because we don't wield that influence. So I depend on clubs like this, people like you, to donate and to dig deep and give to the assessor's office so that we can have a democratic voice in Orange County as your next assessor. Now, Alan mentioned I was a child actor, and that was decades ago, but I've been a union member of the Screen Actors Guild for over 40 years. I currently serve on the Screen Actors Guild AFTRA Government Affairs and Public Policy Committee, where I work hard to bring equality and integrity to every aspect of the Screen Actors Guild and to support working and hardworking families in Orange County. Not only in the entertainment industry, but throughout every industry of labor in Orange County. I have been endorsed by the Orange County Labor Federation, I've been endorsed by the Teamsters, and I've been endorsed by the Los Angeles Orange County Building Trades Commission because they believe in me. And they even know that I don't have the power to write legislation for them, but because they believe in me, they are endorsing me. But I can't win on endorsements alone. If I could, I would win this thing hands down. I can only win by being able to get my message out, and that takes money. There's 3.2 million people in Orange County, 1.7 million households, and it's costly to reach out to those people and ask them to vote for me. To get my name right, to even know who Rick Foster is difficult, as we've witnessed that tonight. So I want to ask you to dig deep and help me get elected, and elected, I will be the only active card-carrying union member elected to an Orange County countywide seat. And I cannot do this alone, and the victory will not be mine alone. It'll be all of ours in Orange County. I want to thank you again for your support and for your anticipated donations. Thank you.
We have two questions here. One is, in your office as assessor, what would you be able to do to help in the affordable housing issue?
So, that's a great question. So, I'm not the assessor yet. However, I've taken my knowledge and my experience in the housing sector, and I have written letters to all the CEOs of the major lending institutions, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, US Bank, Chase, and I've asked those lenders to help our first-time home buyers here in Orange County afford homes. Currently, most of mortgages are 30-year amortized loans. If those lenders were to offer a 40-year amortized loans to first-time home buyers, 5% of those rejected applicants would qualify for loans. Just by offering them a 40-year loan instead of a 30-year loan, 5% more people would qualify for their first home in Orange County. Now, currently, you can't get a 40-year loan, but they're going to charge you a penalty for asking for that. I'm asking those lenders to not penalize first-time home buyers for those 40-year amortized loans, not to charge an extra point, not to charge extra fees, but to give them a fair shake and a fair deal and offer 40-year amortized loans so that we can have hardworking families that work in Orange County also be able to afford homes in Orange County.
And once they afford those homes, how is their property actually evaluated?
So, in Orange County and throughout California, we have California tax code. Part of that California tax code, well, there's the tax code we have was established in 1973, which at that time was when we had the homeowner's exemption of the $7,000. Basically, you get 70 bucks off your, taxes each year. I've actually proposed legislation to the state of California to change that from a flat $7,000 exemption to a percentage. Because when that $7,000 was equated in 1973, the average home in California was $24,000. So that was a 29% deduction in your property tax. I'm asking that we go to a percentage. I'm also asking that I believe in property rights, and Proposition 13 has helped people that have lived in their homes for a long period of time to not get taxed out of their homes. I've been an advocate for senior citizens, for disabled, and for our veterans. I do not ever want to see a senior, a veteran, or anyone be taxed out of their home. And I will fight to make sure that people are not taxed out of their homes and that they are able to afford their homes. Thank you very much.
First of all, my apologies for this, Rick. Rick Scott, by the way, is the evil Florida Republican senator who was president of the company that was convicted of the largest Medicaid fraud in the United States history. And he's also proposed that laws like Social Security, Medicare be sunsetted and reapproved every 5 years or so.
Obviously not the same person.
Guy, so my sincere apologies. I realize. Well, this is going to be our final guest, our final speaker. And our final speaker, I don't know if she's running for election or re-election. Because it's a re-election, because she's on the Board of Supervisors right now, Katrina Foley. She is on the Board of Supervisors. She's She's been redistricted, and she is now running for re-election in the Laguna Woods Board of Supervisors District. She's a lot of people know her here. She is the mayor of Costa Mesa. She was the first elected mayor of Costa Mesa. She's got paragraphs of organizations that she belonged to and started. She started her, I guess you could say, a public service career in college when she developed a resource for women to report sexual assault, and was chairman of the Women's Law Caucus, political caucus. And so we're very happy to have her. I'm so glad she could make it. I know she had another engagement earlier, so let me shut up and give you Katrina Foley running for supervisor, our county supervisor.
I'm your county supervisor, and it's really wonderful. It's been 1 year since we got elected, and in this year we've been working extremely hard. And my district was Newport, Costa Mesa, wrapped around to Los Alamitos. And now I'm running for re-election in the new district, which is Costa Mesa, Newport, coming down south to San Clemente. And it picks up Laguna Woods, all the lagunas in fact. So we're really excited to get to know all of you. I've had a couple little meet and greets and learned a lot about the issues that you care about. But first I want to tell you a little bit about what work we've been doing and what I want to continue to do. And I hope I earn your vote to be able to keep doing this amazing work. So when I first got elected last year, I ran on a platform of the environment, of course public health. We were in the height of COVID, making sure that we had vaccines out to everyone who wanted one, making sure we would care for our community. I'm happy to report that the majority, not the majority, 95% of people over the age of 65 in Orange County are vaccinated. So that's helping a lot. Yeah. And we also wanted to focus on environmental protection and climate action. Believe it or not, the County of Orange, a county that has an $8 billion budget and that oversees a harbor, an airport, beaches, open space, 3.2 million people, we do not have a climate action plan. San Diego has one, Los Angeles has one, and many counties around America. So we set out to get together and inventory all of the policies and plans at the county where it might create a plan. We hired an environmental consultant and we're working on that now. But what did we do also? We set out to make our airport, our dirtiest asset, the one that pollutes the most, a cleaner, quieter airport. And so we worked on what I'll call a fly-friendly program, and that is to create a departure for the airlines that is a quieter departure for those residents that live under the flight path. And also help the technology incentives to have a better technology for the airplanes so that it's less polluting, a better quality airport that's less polluting and more sustainable. So working on that. We also have on Tuesday, so I'd love to have you all email to the Board of Supervisors, a ban on styrofoam in all county buildings and facilities. Believe it or not, they're still using styrofoam coffee cups. And then, of course, electrifying our fleet, looking at hydrogen fuel. We have 2 projects at the Orange County Transportation Authority, buses that are hydrogen and electric. So working on all these issues that will protect our coast and our beautiful community here. Now let me tell you, I've been touring some of these areas. Yesterday, I went to Cypress Shores and to San Clemente area and Doheny. Literally, you hear about this on the news, oh, California's falling into the ocean. It is. I can't believe it. And so we are going to be working on some, I don't think we can stop Mother Nature, frankly, but we can maybe slow it down a little. So we're going to be working on finding scientists who can help us to create some plans, because we've got a whole community there that's impacted. And then public safety. 100% voting record in the last year for public safety. Also helped to fund the sexual assault, backlog of sexual assault kits that were denying victims their justice. And then also really working closely with our probation office. I'm now on the Juvenile Justice Coordinating Council to try to create re-entry programs. So working with our trades and our hospitality industry so that we can get people, juveniles who are incarcerated, trained up and prepared for when they leave so that they can actually get out of their time and have something that's more stable in life. They can get trained, they can get certified, and they can have an earn and learn type of trade. And then, of course, homelessness and housing, that's a top priority for me. I have worked tirelessly to reduce homelessness in our community. Anything from a Project Home Key program that I initiated, where we are providing grants from the state to locals in Huntington Beach, Huntington Beach, Costa Mesa, Buena Park, and Stanton to convert motels that are maybe not the nicest motel in the area, maybe they are encouraging a criminal element, prostitution, drugs, etc. Convert those into permanent supportive housing for veterans and families and individuals. That's a wildly successful program. Yes, clap for that. If you tune in tomorrow, I am hosting an investigative hearing with 3 panels related to the cost, the impacts of homelessness, what are some solutions, what else can we do? And one of the panels, the very last panel, will have Mayor Shaver from Stanton, and he's going to describe the great success that they've had in Stanton for the Project Home Key. And then also, securing funding from the state of California to clear encampments, but not just to clear the encampment, in a way that has compassion and dignity to help people, 61 people that were living in the Talbert Park encampment, to get them housed, and then return the park to its natural habitat, but most importantly, to have some staff person there so that we don't have the encampment return. This is a big priority for me, is to keep pushing on reducing the homelessness, making us as a county do better and do more so that we can all benefit. And then public health, I talked about that a little bit. Mental health is a very top priority for our office. I've been a strong advocate of our Be Well Wellness Center. We have one in Orange. We're building one in Irvine, which will serve South County. And this will provide mental health crisis to anyone, whether you have insurance or not, and addiction treatment, any kind of adolescent or adult treatment for health issues that are related to behavioral and mental health. Transportation, I heard from some of you that you are concerned about the buses, the shuttles that are here in the neighborhood, that they are reducing the number. So I'm looking into that. I don't know if I can solve that problem because it's private here, but I think we could at least look into it and see if Orange County Transportation Authority can't provide some assistance there, and I'm looking into that. And then, of course, transparency. When I took the job, I don't think many people I knew even knew what a supervisor did. I would go to places, introduce myself. Oh, I'm Katrina Foley, your county supervisor. What do you supervise? You. No. And so we have an $8 billion budget. It's an extremely important position. We are responsible for the public health, the mental health, the environmental health. We are responsible for the justice system. We are responsible for the airport, parks, beaches, our coastline. And it's an enormous weight of responsibility. I take it very seriously. I work tirelessly every single day to solve problems and to help people. And it is actually a great job because every day I get to help people. I get to help people no matter how rich or how poor, but to solve real life challenges. And I hope that I've earned your support to return to the job and to continue to help people and to help move Orange County forward, because this is a great place to live and raise a family and retire, and we all deserve that, to have a person who will just work every single day to make it better. So thank you so much. It's Katrina Foley. Somebody asked what my name is. Katrina Foley. You can go to katrinafoley.com.
Thank you.
Foley, that's right.
Yeah, we're wondering where are the lines of disagreement between the Democrats and the GOP on the Board of Supervisors, and on what issues does consensus end and conflict begin?
Wow, that's a hard question. So, because it just depends on the issue. I'll give you an example. this last week, last board meeting, I did not vote on a contract for, I think it was $1.3 million to go to the Angels for a marketing campaign for suicide prevention. Now, you're gonna ask yourself, well, why wouldn't you support that? Well, because I asked for 3 weeks to get the data from the county for the $2.3 million that we'd already spent on this marketing campaign to show the results. In the last 2 years, did this marketing campaign actually result in any outcomes that drove people from watching the baseball game, seeing the billboard, getting the rally monkey, and then going to a website, calling a crisis hotline? Some evidence that the marketing was working, and nobody could give me any. And I just didn't feel that it was in good conscience to vote for that because I didn't have the data. Yeah. So oddly enough, that's a disagreement between the Republicans and the Democrat, which is kind of flipping what people might assume, right? So I come from a very modest background. As a girl, super poor, Head Start graduate, went to school on a free lunch program, went to college at UCLA on a Pell Grant. I understand the value of $1. I always try to turn $1 into $3. So that's maybe shining a light on no-bid contracts and demanding evidence-based decision-making is probably where I disagree and conflict begins with my colleagues.
I understand if you receive 50% plus 1 in June, that you will have been successful in the elections. If not, who's running against you, I guess, and then what happens?
Okay, so we have a chance to win this outright in June. Election day starts May 10th. Your ballots will go out in the mail. Everyone will receive a mail ballot on May 9th. Hopefully you'll get it by May 10th. And then you can return it into the mail or a drop box nearby immediately. Now, the election ends June 7th. But if we win 50% of the vote plus 1 vote, 50% plus 1 person, we win outright and we serve you for 4 years. Now, I am very excited about that because this is because of being on a 2-year cycle as mayor and city council member. This is my 6th election in 5 years. And so I will be looking forward to serving you for 4 years. And finishing up in June also is important. It allows us to not divert $600,000, $700,000 in resources that could be used for other candidates that are running, that we want to win, that share our values. And they have to run in the general. So yes, so if I get to a runoff, I'm either running against Diane Harkey, Pat Bates, or Kevin Muldoon. If I had to guess, it's going to be one of the women. It's not going to be Kevin Muldoon. I beat him in the special. I don't see how he's going to beat all 3 of us women. All right. Thank you so much. We have yard signs. We have, please volunteer. Go to our social media at Katrina Foley OC. Tune in to our hearing tomorrow at Supervisor Foley. And just really appreciate you all staying up this late. I know I'm tired. So good night.
I gotta get up early. And Richard and John, of course, we all know.
Okay, good. For those of you who stayed, let's have a round of applause for everyone who stayed. And also for these amazing candidates. Aren't we lucky? We are really lucky to have such amazing candidates. I hope that you will stop and see some of them who are still here.